Welcome to another episode of the Ride Pure podcast, brought to you live from the Motoverse 2022. We are here in Goa. Next up, we've got a very special guest, somebody everyone in India and everybody who's a sporting fan or cricketing fan knows about. Someone who loves his bikes, who loves the surf, who loves the waves, who loves an outdoor lifestyle. Jonty Rhodes, thank you so much for having spent time with us, Jonty, and being here at Mania 2022. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Adarsh. Really good to be here.
So this is your first Mania. You've been riding motorcycles. You've been riding motorcycles since forever, and Enfield since 2010. How does it feel first time to kind of feel the energy to be here with us, with so many thousands of people who love motorcycling and culture and all that kind of stuff?
It's been an incredible, I think, just 2 days that have witnessed this Mania. I mean, the Motorverse was something I wasn't quite sure, what are you guys on about, this hashtag? But when you get here and you see this sort of brotherhood, within the riding community, it really is amazing. I mean, I've grown up in a sporting team, so whether it was cricket, hockey, tennis, doubles you can play, but it's you actually compete with your teammates sometimes, whereas here in this team, it's almost like a tribe. And I'm now seeing with my little kids growing up skateboarding and surfing, the same sort of culture, the same sort of togetherness. So really good to be here to be a part of that and see it firsthand.
It's amazing to have you here, Jonty. I wanted to ask you about, you have such a busy life. You've always been, you had a sporting career. You've then transitioned into coaching and stuff like that. And in the IPL, most of the guys are pretty one track, right? They're training, they're doing their job, they have a few hobbies or so. But, even with everything that's going around with the security checks and stuff like that, you've always figured out how to get yourself a motorcycle, and you've checked out, so to speak. So what's been the story behind that? Where does that come from?
Well, I think in a big way, just the diversity across India is incredible. And you can't experience that if you're flying over it. You can't experience if you're driving in a team bus or even in an air-conditioned car. So from a perspective of growing up in apartheid era South Africa, where you were racially segregated, I played sports with white boys. I grew up in the same community with people who thought the same, looked the same. So for me, it's been a real experience of understanding that the more I get to know about other people, the more I learn about myself. And riding the Enfield in India has certainly opened my eyes to that, because you also come to India as somebody who's toured here as a cricket player with sort of preconceived ideas. And until you get out and experience some of this incredible country, those misconceptions or preconceptions will remain with you. And you can't have that experience in an AC car or an AC bus. You really can't, and definitely not flying over it. So being in a riding group, going out on the road has been something that certainly opened my eyes and allowed me to grow as an individual, as a human.
And not just motorcycling, you spend a fair amount of time trying to surf. You've been an integral part of the surf scene in India. You're the ambassador for the Surf Festival down in Kovalam, very close to our global headquarters in Chennai. You're also here in Goa trying to get a surf in while you're attending Mania and after. So where did surfing start for you? And I know it's a really important part of your life. And can you tell us a little bit about that culture and where that comes from for you?
Sure. I actually only started surfing when I'd retired from cricket, because I was actually watching Kelly Slater on television and Mick Fanning. So two supreme athletes who were top of their game, of the surfing game, but looking healthy and strong, but functionally fit, and not someone who'd spend hours and hours in the gym. We all have different likes and what we want to aspire to. But for me, it was a case of, as a cricket player, an international player, I was fortunate that I always had to be fit. We were given some guidance, but most of my career, we just ran, so nothing scientific about it. And once I'd retired, I decided I was never going to run again. So I had to maintain some sort of fitness levels. And the best way to do that, because then it never feels like a diet or a training regime, is to incorporate into your lifestyle ways to get out and exercise, so without even knowing it. And I think what I've loved about India, and I think we've seen since the pandemic, is that I've always spoken to Indians and they've always traveled abroad for their holidays. And most of the time they need to have a holiday when they get back because they're exhausted. They've been partying or they've been shopping and they go from one place to the next to the next. And, been involved with the Surf Federation of India for the last 8 or 9 years, and we have contests on both coasts. I mean, India's got 5,000 kilometers of coastline. So from a perspective of you look at the surf culture, when you start surfing, one, it's exercise because it's really hard work. I know people in India, there's a lot of negativity about, can I swim well enough to get in the ocean? You're attached to the surfboard floats, stick with the surfboard. But the fact that you can get out and get on the road on a bike, you can meet communities who, and I think that's another great thing with surfing and biking. You got CEOs riding with people who are, run their own businesses. There's no pecking order in the biking environment, and there's no real pecking order either in the surfing community. So you share the waves, you're sharing a beach, no matter what your designation or your position is in a corporate or a business environment. And I think that's the beauty for me about India. There are so many opportunities to explore this country, and it doesn't require you to fly overseas to see the best of everything. You can experience it right here in India.
And do you usually kind of mix the motorcycling and surfing? I've seen you do that a fair bit, whether it's in Chennai and now in Goa. I see that, you try to find the surf, then you try to find the motorcycle, and you kind of bring that together. Tell us a little bit about that. Is it like trying to pack in everything that you like all in one go?
I think the only problem here when I come to India for work, there's not a lot of time off. So I think if so it's not a holiday for me. I have 2 days here. It's incredible. I've actually found another 2 days to go surfing at Agonda. I've got a friend who's got a surf school, and I haven't seen him for 2 years, obviously, or 2.5 years, because would see him at Mahabalipuram all the time at all the surf contests. So there's a real sense of family for me, and yes, I do try and pack it all in, but it's a case of going, okay, how do I fast forward everything, and riding a bike, getting a surf in, if it's 2 or 3 days, for me that's really refreshing, because my riding levels are not great, but after a day of riding, I'm back to where I was. And surfing's the same thing. Surfing fitness is very different to running or gym kind of fitness, and you need a paddle to get that sort of fitness. So it'll take me a day or two, but then I'm back to work. But for me, it is so refreshing to get out of a car and hit the road on a bike, and then get in the ocean as well.
You've been talking to us for a while about sort of that dream ride that you wanted to do for a really long time. My kind of journey in motorcycling started with looking at pictures and videos back in the day, looking at people going up to Ladakh in the mountains in the Himalayas. We even have a bike that's called the Himalayan. So when's that happening, Jonty?
Yeah, that is interesting, because that's a dedicated 10-day kind of trip from my point of view to come in. So that's a little bit tough if I'm trying to combine all of it. And you're right. I mean, every time I rode with the Airborne Riders in Jaipur and the Eagle Riders on Chennai, and every guy that's has been to, he's almost done that pilgrimage to Ladakh, and they keep saying, oh, when are you going to join us? And I think it's important now that, biking is not just for the mountains. Now biking is to get to the coast, start exploring other parts. So probably not yet. It's not yet on the radar, but as long as I keep riding and surfing, I can keep delaying it. It's not a bucket list thing, but it's certainly something that I would like to do.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us, Jonty. I hope you've had a great time. I hope you have a great evening tonight over here with the last day of Motoverse 2022. And we really hope that you come back next year and the next and the next. It's been an absolute pleasure, and everybody had a blast having you here. Thank you so much, Jonty.
Thanks, Adarsh, for having me. I'll be back.